Hello and welcome back to another vlog. For those eagle-eyed viewers, you may notice that I am in the exact same position as I was in my last vlog that I've literally just finished. So welcome back. I am so excited to start this vlog because we are going to be doing a read through of the next book that I want to start editing so that I can get it released maybe this year. We will see. I am so excited about this because I have not read this book at all. I literally put it down, like closed the document after typing the end and have not looked at it since. In the April rough draft writing challenge, I edited the book before this and I really had to resist the urge to just immediately start reading this book. I just wanted to read it so much, and that's why I changed all my plans for the year and thought, why not read through this book in the month of May? So you are going to come along with me as we do a read through and start to plan some developmental edits, which are the first things that we get to when we are on the editing process. The developmental edits are the big picture things. It's making sure that things like the pace is working, that there's not slow moments or moments where I've quickly skimmed over something and we need to sink into the emotion, that it makes sense, that the character development's working, that the plot makes sense, that there's no big gaping holes. It's all those really big picture things that need to be shuffled around first before you then dive into a more granular view of the book. And I have begun to leave the manuscript, like close it down and leave it for as long as possible. The book that I'm writing at the moment is like 5 books in advance of this story. So I've got quite a lot of books in between. So that will really help me get that reader reaction where I almost forget what I've written and what's coming next. And I get that reader reaction of, is this entertaining? Does this make sense? What the hell are they going on about there? They wouldn't say that or think that or do that. Getting that distance by time on a project is one of the best ways that I've found to get that initial reader's reaction. And because I have so many books that I've been writing and have piled up and I'm not releasing yet, I'm able to give it that time to settle. And then the more as I'm editing, the more I'll get like the editor reaction, which I'm trying to train up because obviously I'm not an editor, I'm a writer, and editing your own work is difficult because you definitely get to the point where you're like, well, surely that's good enough. Surely that makes sense. It's because you know all the nuance around it. So I try to get that reader's reaction first with that big picture thinking and then dive down more into it. And then I do have a proofreader that will come along and make sure that I'm not doing anything stupid with how to spell things or punctuation and grammar and all of that stuff, because that is definitely not something I would be able to self-edit. It's a big no from me. So basically you're going to come with me as I read through on my Kindle. Everything's written for me in a Word document and then I try to read it on a different environment. So I'm going to put it onto my Kindle. So I've charged my Kindle last night. The issue is when I read it on my phone, I can then edit it. And so I'll do those little things of being like, oh, this needs changing. And sometimes that can draw you out. So I just want to do a real quick read through and then sort of sit down and make a plan to be like, right, what are we dealing with here? Like what actually needs to be edited? What needs to be changed? What needs to be improved? And come up with a plan. Because at this point in time, I have no idea. This could be months and months and months of work, or I could be sitting here going, it's really polished, no work needed. Which is not going to be the case. There's always work needed, and especially when I write and I go, oh, I'll deal with that later and I need to add in that later. So I've got the joy of doing all of those bits. So the book that I am going to be reading through is the 4th book in my series, my beach romance series that I am currently releasing. I'm hoping to release the 3rd book in June this year. And like I said, this is the first time that I would have picked up this document and read it. So I'm so excited. I really did love this book. It is Second Chances. It's a fated mate, or it's like a play on fated mates, but without the fantasy and in a more contemporary setting. And so it's this real story of these two people belong together and things have torn them apart and they've got to find the way back to each other because they really do need to be together. And these two are complete opposites. We've got like the gruffest male character I've ever written. He's a boxer. He's really quite dark for what I normally write, and she is completely opposite, the quiet one, the sweet one of the group. And there's just a little bit of a hidden side to her that only he really gets to see, and he sparks in her, and them colliding back together in this very small town. I'm so excited. I cannot describe to you how excited I am. And I hope that that means that readers will also feel like that if I feel like that. Oh, fingers crossed, this is where writers just dream that somebody will feel like that about their own work. But I cannot wait. I started writing this book on the 15th of December 2024 and I finished writing, I typed the end on the 31st of March 2025. So it has been over a year that I've looked at this book. So I actually really can't remember what it's about. I can remember big picture stuff, but I cannot remember the nuance of it. So that's great. It did take me a long time to write this book. That's longer than I would like, 3.5 months. But it is my second longest book that I've ever written at 92,000 words. So it is going to take me some time to read it. It is going to take me a lot of time to edit it. And with editing, it has definitely been, for me, the hardest part of being an author. And I do resist change. So when I've written something, I'm like, well, I don't want that to change, so that's not going to change. And resisting that. So I don't mind like small edits and stuff, but there was an instance in the past where I named a character and then my proofreader very helpfully pointed out to me that I'd already used that name in the series before and that realistically I shouldn't use that name again. Well, that sent me into a whole spin. Devastated. I was like mourning the name. It might have been a tad over dramatic. Just teeny little bit. But it did feel like that. I was like, no, he is Connor. I can't change his name, and I couldn't change the name for the other book because that was already published. He is Connor. How can I change his name? And eventually, after a week maybe, so yes, maybe a bit dramatic, I did change his name and I was going back and forth on what it could be. He's now Callum. It took me a while. But I now do think of him as Callum. So yeah, I do resist some change. And as I'm doing this read through, I have to really take myself away from being the writer and looking at it from a reader's perspective and being like, no, this is what the reader needs. Get over yourself, Marie. You can do this. That's the plan. I'm going to load the book onto my Kindle. I've got a new Kindle cover. It is a little bit flimsy. I've got a really old Kindle so that I don't have a lot of options. Although it is quite flimsy, it actually fit the bill. And in all honesty, I don't read loads on my Kindle. I do normally read on the Kindle app on my phone because like my phone's huge. Like it's almost the size of my Kindle, so I just read on there a lot. Anyway, I'm going to load the book onto my Kindle and I'm going to make a little bit of a plan and a section in my notebook to focus my thoughts on what this developmental edit is going to be focusing on. So is the pacing okay? Are the characters okay? Where can this be tightened? That will give me a place to put all of that down with a focus so that once I then finish the read through, I've got like this document there that I can then go, right, this is what I'm looking at. Now let's plan it. I've done some admin bits today, this morning already. I do need to do some vlog edits, so I'm not going to spend the whole day reading, but what I'll probably do is do chunks of time, because the key with this read through is to get it done really quick, so that you don't then forget what you've read. If I could get this done in one sitting, that would be ideal. That's not going to happen. But if I can get this done across 2 days, that would be really good. I don't really want it to go like longer than that. 3 days max. I should be able to do this. So come along with me. We're going to do a read through. I cannot wait. I know I've said that a lot. I'm sorry. Come on. So my first reading session is done. I want to get some vlog edits done today so that I can get my latest vlog up. I'm going to stop reading there. I managed the first 6 chapters and my Kindle very helpfully tells me that is 21%, so I'm very happy with that. I did make a few notes. I think probably the beginning chapter probably needs work, but I think that's mostly because you obviously just start writing and it takes a while to get into the characters. So the characters' voices become clearer as I was writing. So I think I just want to tweak that. I made a note that I'd given somebody the wrong name and a formatting question. That's about it really. And then a lot of it is just more line edit stuff and tightening up where things have like changed on autocorrect or just the wrong word completely. So I definitely need to work through that, but I'm going to get these edits done and then fingers crossed carry on reading, and I'm loving it. It feels very different to what I've written before, this character dynamic and this sort of fated mates element, but in a very contemporary romance situation is, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Also, there's a very witchy vibe going on. His nan is like known as the witch of the town, and she loved that title and fully encouraged that title, like feeding only the black cats and shooing away every other colour cat. And people were like, only black cats go around her house. I'm loving that element of it, and in the story she's passed away and he can hear what she would have said, and I'm loving that like little element of the past coming back and being very much like fate's knocking at the door for you, and then she turns up. There's lots of deep feelings and emotions and very complex feelings for each other of being like, you've hurt me, like that second chance element of it. So I'm really enjoying it and I can't wait to get back to reading it. But I do want to get these edits done, and I've only got like an hour before the school run, so that might not actually fully happen, but I'm going to get that work done because I can pick up reading later on, and that's a lot easier to do, like a chapter here and there, a few pages here and there, and just make my notes. So that is my plan, but I will see you on the next stint of the read through and I will catch you up with how I'm doing. this morning where I had a pedicure done. I went to the coffee shop and I brought you along with me to do a little bit more reading, and I then popped to the shops to grab some bits, and I also took back some library books. I did some reading last night. I'm now on chapter 14. The last chapter that I read was very long. It was a spicy scene that I was reading in the coffee shop. And I was like, this was not well planned. I didn't know this was going to be next. I have been making some notes, but I'm really happy with how everything's shaping up. And I'm now at 56% of the way through. I am going to set up on the sofa again, carry on reading. I've got my coffee. I'll probably have some lunch. I've got 3 hours till I have to go on the school run, and nothing else to do. There is other stuff that I could be doing, but this is what I want to be getting done. Could we finish the book? We might be able to finish the book. Hopefully we can finish the book. Let's go and see, shall we? Have finished my read through of that whole book. It's taken me, what, just over 24 hours to get through, and I love it. There are no huge changes that I want to make just from initial reactions. A lot of it was an awful lot of grammar and like more line editing things that I need to think about. I obviously need to like read through it in a document I can actually edit, so that will be down the line. But big picture things, I mean, I did make an awful lot of notes in my little notebook. I've probably done 4 pages worth, but they're really not big things. I'll likely sit down and just think individually about my characters and the pacing and the development to sort of get that initial thoughts down. More than likely the beginning needs a little bit more work just to tighten characters, and potentially towards the end just flesh out the epilogue slightly more, which I think is probably the biggest things, but that's like 1 to 2 chapters worth of adjustments, so that's not crazy at all. So I think I'm gonna get those initial reactions down onto paper, let it just sink in, let it over the next couple of days just think about, am I still happy? Is there any new thoughts? And then come up with a bit of a plan on what these edits will look like, time frames, next steps. I think it will just be a case of, because there is no deadline, chipping away at it. That's the plan. I think that sounds good. I think that will make me happy. I really, really enjoyed the book. I love this couple. They're so different to any dynamic that I've written, and I felt really emotional reading it, and I'm hoping that readers will also feel that emotion too. There were moments where I was like, I feel like I could cry, and my books aren't normally like a cryy type. I know the next book is more than likely, because that's the book that I did cry at whilst I was writing. I think these are just some emotional connections that I've got coming up. Yeah, there were definitely moments where my heart was tugging and I just felt a little bit emotional with these as a couple and the journey that they go through individually to find each other. So I'm hopeful that this is a really good book as it stands, barring the massive amount of typos. I think I'll come back to you in a couple of days' time to see what I come up with. So I'll see you in a minute. Welcome to another Wednesday. I was not meant to leave it this long before doing a check-in. I apologise. I have just been sitting down and working through a brand new document that I've come up with just for this book, which probably I will end up using for future books as well. Basically what I've done is detailed down my chapters, the word count, what point of view each chapter is in, and then a very brief overview of that chapter. And then I've got an action column, and I've gone through as a very first task to figure out, there's some very long chapters, one very short one, and some just initial reactions of really they probably need to be edited, added to, cut down, merged, those sorts of things. I've made those initial thoughts and put them down onto paper on my screen. I also sat down, and I think this is something I last said when I was speaking to you, that I would get all of my initial thoughts out onto paper and come up with some planning tasks. And I did do that. I just didn't then film to remember what I'd done and said to you that I was going to do. Those considerations for plot development, character development, world building and pacing, I just jotted down my initial thoughts. I created a cute little task list for myself. Oh, I also did just an initial thoughts, which was like, oh my god, I love this book. It needs loads of line editing, but I love this book. I've come up with some tasks of what I want to do, and one of them was this document, so I'm already starting on the edits, even though I've not physically edited anything. Although that's a lie, because as I was scrolling through and figuring out what each chapter was about, if I saw something needs editing, I did just quickly do it. But I mean, I've spent less than 30 minutes on it, so it's not really that much editing. But I have started, and my plan is going to just do a little bit every week just to keep momentum going, because there isn't a deadline for this. I have a rough idea in my head when I'd like to get it done, but it's not imminent. So I have more than enough time to just tick away every week. There isn't loads of stuff that needs to get done. And actually some of the things that I'm going to think about doing is stuff that I've never done before for edits. I think would be a good idea to do. Like this little document that I've created to give me an overview of, actually, this chapter already is very short. And this chapter is very long. As a reader reaction, I didn't mind. I was like, that's fine. It's not an issue. It doesn't need to be changed. But an editor's reaction, there's probably some work to be done there just to make them a little bit streamlined. Like, they might end up being quite heavy on words, some of them. That's fine. But can I streamline it anymore? Some other things that I haven't ever done before, but I'm going to be doing this time around, are things like the scene-to-scene overview, just trying to follow the big picture plot points, just to sort of track that it is flowing. I think it's flowing quite coherently because of my planning process anyway. I just want to double check. Another thing that is brand new that I'm going to have to figure out how to actually do is looking at the characters and where they start off and where they end up. In my planning, again, I plot that out, but I want to be tracking, is that clear in this book? Does the start make sense for where they are at? Their thought processes, what they're saying, what they're doing, does it track with this arc? I planned the arc. Can we actually see it in the book? I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to work on that big picture thinking just to make sure if there's anything that I can tweak to cement that and make that clear, that it gets added in now before I then go through line by line and start editing. And then probably some of the biggest in manuscript edits that I will be doing is tightening up that start chapter, because it is quite small. It's 2 POVs as well, and it's got a lot of setting up to do with history, the second chances. There's like this enemies vibe that's going on, all these hurt feelings. I really think that just needs to be tightened up, everything heightened, more words, tightened up with more words. I know what I mean. The emotions tightened up and like really packing a punch, and more words to enable me to actually do that. That's what I mean. And the same with the epilogue. I just want to make sure it's hitting home. Like it did hit home as I was reading it, reader reaction. I think I can get more out of it. And then as I go through, there are some things in the manuscript that I will need to add. So I'll just keep on doing those little bits. And then technically we're done onto the line edits. But realistically, this is going to take me a good few weeks, maybe some months to get through all of this. And then line editing will likely just be like chapter at a time, just to go through so that I don't get overly fatigued and then start to miss some stuff, or try to like speed up the process and then miss some stuff. That's my grand plan. I'm really happy with my grand plan. Now, I had planned what I was going to do these next few months, and I've just changed that plan completely. I am going to be still doing this as I go along. I'm going to finish the book that I'm writing currently, and then I've got a secret project to start doing. I have in the last week made a decision, changed my plan for these next few months, and essentially pushed back, like I've shoehorned a new book into writing as a secret project. And I think I'm going to be bringing you along. But I think before that, in the next vlog, I'm pretty sure we're going to be finishing the book that we're working on at the moment. I would love to see you over in that vlog. Come and join me for some more cozy writing. If you have liked this vlog, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Happy reading.